Alright, now some anime leave a lasting impact, not just because of their story, but because of their entire vibe, and Soul Eater is one of them ones. It had a world oozing with personality, an art style unlike anything else, and a dark, twisted atmosphere that made it feel like a Halloween fever dream. But despite all that, something was missing: a proper adaptation. Much like Fullmetal Alchemist before it, Soul Eater was an anime that started off strong, but strayed from its source material, leaving behind an ending that just didn't do its story justice. And if there's one thing that anime history has taught us, it's that some series deserve a second chance. But here's the thing, plenty of anime have been given a second chance. Fullmetal Alchemist got Brotherhood, Hunter x Hunter got a full remake in 2011, even Shaman King, after almost 20 years, finally got a faithful adaptation. So why hasn't Soul Eater? And with Fire Force proving that Atsushi Okubo's work still thrives in the modern day anime landscape, there's no better time for Soul Eater to get the Brotherhood treatment. So today, we're breaking down exactly why Soul Eater needs a proper remake, what the original anime got wrong, and how a reboot could finally do this series justice. Alright, so let's get into it. What went wrong? What's the problem with the Soul Eater anime, and why do we even need a new one in the first place? To make a short story even shorter, the problem is the Soul Eater anime deviated from the manga. Now hold your pitchforks, cause that's not necessarily a bad thing. Tons of anime change things from anime to manga, but some of these changes, man, completely change the entire story of Soul Eater, and not for the better. Okay, so now you might be wondering, okay, why did they deviate from the manga? And the answer is pretty simple. It's the same reason why most animes deviate from the manga. The anime caught up with the manga. And when that happens, you're basically left with two choices. One, release a bunch of fillers to give the manga a lot of time to get ahead of the anime, think Naruto or Bleach. Or two, create your own ending, think Fullmetal Alchemist and Soul Eater. Now, anime catching up to the manga usually happens because of release schedules, and that's sort of what happened here with Soul Eater. So Soul Eater started regular serialization in Square Enix's monthly shonen magazine on May 12th, 2004. And Soul Eater's anime started releasing weekly on April 7th, 2008. Now, there's two issues with this. One, Soul Eater's anime didn't end until March 30th, 2009, while the manga ended on August 12th, 2013. That means that the manga ran for damn near 4 years longer than the anime. And two, because Soul Eater was a monthly releasing manga, the anime was gonna eventually catch up. Even though the manga had a 4-year head start on the anime, it didn't matter. The manga was releasing one chapter a month, while the anime was releasing one episode a week. And since anime episodes are roughly 3 chapters long, that basically means Soul Eater's anime was essentially releasing 12 chapters a month compared to the 1 chapter a month schedule that the manga was on. So eventually they would catch up, especially since the anime cut out various things and trimmed other stuff. Alright, now we're about to get into the differences between the anime and the manga. Like, for this section, we're going to talk about things that the anime either didn't include, changed, or just flat out ignored, that manga readers have context to that anime readers don't. Okay, for starters, the concept of consuming souls and the death side status. In the manga, a student must collect 99 evil human souls and 1 witch soul to create a death site. The targets are specified by Lord Death himself. However, in the anime, it introduces the Kishin egg, which doesn't exist in the manga, where students rely on their soul perception abilities to locate and hunt down souls. Also, several characters like White Star, Jack the Ripper, Don Al Capone, and Lupin were criminals in the manga, but had not consumed souls, while in the anime, they're portrayed as soul-eating Kishin eggs. The anime contradicts its own rules. Lord Death states that only demon weapons can consume souls, yet non-demon weapons are seen doing so. Alright, now we're going to get into some character-related concepts and backstories. Some really aren't that big of a deal, others it's like, why would you do that? But I'm just going to name them all just for transparency. Okay, to start, Blair's perverted behavior is significantly toned down in the anime, thankfully. In the manga, Krona's forced to kill a baby bunny as a test, but they changed it to a small black dragon in the anime, probably for censorship reasons. Auntie's an important side character, and she has a larger role in the manga, but only makes like 2 cameo appearances in the anime. In the manga, Mifune's soul is revealed to be as strong as 99 souls, but that's just never mentioned in the anime. Joe has different roles. In the manga, he's an internal affairs investigator searching for a spy, and in the anime, he's the Oceania Technology Development Advisor. He has completely different roles, and his past relationship with Marie is completely removed in the anime. Excalibur's past with King Arthur is only included in the anime. The manga only kinda like briefly mentions Arthur. And White Star's death, in the manga he's killed by unspecified DWMA agents, but in the anime, he's killed by Mifune. In the anime, Maka mentions receiving postcards from her mother as she travels, but in the manga, her mother's fate is unknown after divorcing Spirit, but I think this one's a good change. Also, since he's my favorite character, I have to say it, I hate how the anime completely ignored Kilogrung's team. He appears way more in the manga than he does in the anime, and he's the GOAT, so yeah, I just had to say that, I'm sorry. Alright, now that we got the little baby changes out the way, it's time to open up that can of worms. It's time to really talk about the major changes and plot differences, the things that'll have us looking at two very different stories. Brace yourselves. Okay, so Black Needle Wavelength, that special technique that Death the Kid used, it's anime only. It doesn't exist. Lord Death's fate is even different. In the manga, he dies, and his powers are passed on to Death the Kid, who becomes essentially the new Death. But in the anime, Lord Death is only wounded in his battle with Ashura and survives, meaning Death the Kid never inherits his role. In the manga, Krona is the one to kill Medusa, but in the anime, Maka kills Medusa using Genie Hunter. In the manga, Maka and Soul kill Arachne, with Soul consuming her soul and achieving Deathside status. But in the anime, Ashura kills Arachne and consumes her soul instead. As a result, Soul never becomes a Deathside in the anime, and that's a damn shame. In the manga, Krona remains an antagonist for most of the series and ultimately sacrifices himself to trap Ashura, but in the anime, Krona fights Medusa and survives, then hints that they might return to the DWMA as a student and possibly move in with Maka and Soul. For Black Star, in the manga, after defeating Mifune, he follows the path of a warrior and aims to become a warrior god, but in the anime, he decides to walk his own path and gains the red uncanny sword instead. So Kim is a witch, who was forced to work for arachnophobia before being rescued by Oxford and Harvard, but in the anime this reveal never happens, but it's hinted in the prequel Soul Eater Not. Now changing this was absolutely ridiculous. In the manga, Justin betrays the DWMA, joins Ashura, and is killed by Stein and Marie, but in the anime he remains loyal and is never killed. I don't know why they would do this, cause my boy Justin was on timing in the manga. Like, look at his face here! This is not the face of a hero! In the manga, Mosquito was killed by Noah, but obviously Noah doesn't appear in the anime, so Mosquito survives. In the manga, Mifune is killed by Black Star at Baba Yaga's castle, but in the anime, Black Star spares Mifune, and he later becomes a teacher at the DWMA. So obviously, since Mifune doesn't die in the anime, he continues to care for Angela, but in the manga, she's taken into the DWMA after Mifune's death. They even changed little things like Ashura's location before he revives. In the manga, Ashura is hiding on the moon before being found by arachnophobia, but in the anime, he's hiding in a Buddhist temple in Tibet. In the manga, Maka uses Kishin Hunt to make Ashura bleed, and then Krona traps them both on the moon using Brew in the Book of Eban. But, in the anime, Ashura grows too powerful to be destroyed, but Maka channels her courage into a single punch, triggering Ashura's paranoia, which ultimately causes him to self-destruct. What the hell did I just say? What? Alright, little disclaimer, I'ma keep it a full stack with y'all. I love the scene. It doesn't make it any less ridiculous because I like it, but I love the scene where bro's like, what's going on? And Maka's like, the word is bravery. Everybody has it. And he's like, oh, so it's just like madness. And explodes. I ain't gonna lie, that was hard. They kind of cooked, but it was still very Mickey. It was still some nonsensical BS, to be honest. Okay, so in the manga, Medusa uses the DWMA to destroy arachnophobia for her own plans. But in the anime, the DWMA's main goal is to capture Ashura, leading to the immobilization of Death City as a giant robot, which, again, only happens in the anime. I don't know what they were doing sometimes. I still love this show. Like, don't get it twisted just because I'm like criticizing them right now. No, I absolutely love this show still. And finally, the little ogre in the Black Blood. In the manga, the little ogre leaves Soul's body when they try to save Krona. But in the anime, the little ogre grows larger, possesses Soul, and Maka has to rescue him from his own mind. Instead of being removed, Soul accepts the little ogre as part of himself and eats him whole. And yeah, that's most of the changes. I still really do want to circle back to how excluded Killik is in the anime compared to the manga, but I'm not going to do that. Just know, justice for Killik. Okay, 3Kage Summit, you told us about it, you told us about some of the differences, but why does Soul Eater even deserve an adaptation? Like, why do I care? Why would we make it? Why would it even work in today's era? Yo, I ain't even gonna lie, I'm glad you asked. Cause they're a cool anime, and then there's Soul Eater. It's a series dripping with an effortless kind of swagger that most shows can't even dream of replicating. The fashion, the attitude, the way characters move and carry themselves. It's just a series full of sauce. The series oozes personality, from the gothic Halloween-inspired setting to the eccentric character designs that make every single frame feel alive. It's the kind of show where a single pose or line delivery tells you everything you need to know about a character. Black Star's cocky grin, Kid's obsession with symmetry, Stein casually spinning in that chair, it's these little details that give Soul Eater its signature vibe. A remake with modern animation could elevate all of this to another level, refining the already stylish action sequences while keeping that raw, untouchable cool factor. Also, as you just heard, the anime never got to do the manga justice. As incredible as the Soul Eater anime was, and that shit was incredible, the sad reality is that it strayed from the manga and ended with an original conclusion. That means fans never got to see the full scope of the story animated. Key plot lines, major character moments, and deep themes were left unexplored. And if you've read the manga, or watched like the last 3 minutes in the video, you know how much more Soul Eater had to offer. Characters like Krona, Mifune, and Justin Law had far more development, and that final battle against Ashura, absolutely insane in the manga. A remake would give Soul Eater the Brotherhood treatment, delivering a complete and faithful adaptation that lets the story unfold exactly as it was intended to. Alright, now let's be real. There's an entire group of anime fans today that have no idea what Soul Eater is, and honestly, that's a crime against good taste. With newer shonen hits like Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man dominating the conversation, Soul Eater has unfairly faded into the background when it deserves to be right up there with the greats. It has everything modern fans love: insane fights, deep lore, unforgettable characters, and an aesthetic that still goes hard even years later. A remake would reintroduce Soul Eater to a whole new audience, ensuring that a series this legendary gets the recognition it deserves. And unlike series that need a full rewrite to be saved, Soul Eater is already a masterpiece. It just needs modern animation and a proper adaptation to bring out its full potential. Imagine Studio Bones or MAPPA tackling Soul Eater with today's animation standards. The fight choreography, the fluid motion, the enhanced detailing in the world design. It could be something truly breathtaking. The original anime still holds up in a lot of ways, don't get it twisted, but imagine Maka in Soul's battles with the kind of animation that JJK or Demon Slayer flexes. It would be next level. We've seen it before. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Hunter x Hunter, Shaman King all prove that when an anime gets a chance to retell its story properly, it can be received very well, especially in the case of Fullmetal, because Fullmetal in 2003, it was good, but Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, that is hailed as the greatest anime of all time to a large majority of people, myself included, so argue with a wall. But Soul Eater is begging for that same treatment. It has a rich world, fantastic character arcs, and an unforgettable atmosphere, all of which could shine even brighter with a faithful adaptation. A Soul Eater remake wouldn't just be a win for fans, it would be a gift to anime as a whole. It's time to bring back the sauce, the swagger, and the soul of Soul Eater the way it was meant to be experienced. Okay, 3Kage Summit, you've talked about the whys, but how would this even happen? Haven't people moved on? Hasn't Studio Bones moved on to bigger and better? Well, kinda. So Okubo's next series was Fire Force, which is still currently releasing. And if Okubo is Batman, Kei Urana is Robin. And their series, Gachiakuta, is also set to release, which looks eerily similar to Soul Eater. And if you don't want Fire Force spoilers, skip to this time. I'll wait a second. I'll wait another second. Okay, so since Fire Force is coming to an end within the next year and a half, we find out that Shinra Bancho-man essentially created the Soul Eater world. So once Fire Force ends, that goes directly into Soul Eater after an extended amount of time. So right now is literally the best time to announce a Soul Eater remake, because once Fire Force ends, at the end it says it's time for Soul World, which is just Soul Eater. So in the real world, Soul Eater came out before Fire Force, but in their anime timeline, like in their world's timeline, it goes Fire Force and then Soul Eater. So at the end of Fire Force, if they announce a Soul Eater sequel, well, remake, I will lose it. Oh my god! But it makes perfect sense. If they're gonna do that, now is the time to do that. But then that brings up another question. Who will adapt it? Because the studio that originally adapted Soul Eater and the studio that adapts Fire Force aren't the same studio. Studio Bones is the studio that made the original Soul Eater, while Deviate Production is the studio that currently makes Fire Force. In my opinion, it would make more sense for Deviate Production to take over any possible Soul Eater remake. One, because they know what they're doing with the animation and the sound effects. And two, because they're actively working on Akubo's work now. Also, Studio Bones just has a lot of shit on their plate. So at the end of the day, man, Soul Eater is a series that just deserved better. We've broken down the differences, the missed opportunities, and just how much potential a remake would have. The original anime had its moments, but it never gave fans the full experience that the manga delivered on. And with Fire Force proving that Atsushi Akubo's work can shine with modern animation, there's no excuse not to bring Soul Eater back the right way. A remake wouldn't just be for longtime fans. It would introduce an entirely new generation to one of the coolest, most stylish animes to ever exist. It's still there. Everything's there. The sauce, the swagger, the energy, just waiting to be unleashed again. So whether it's Bones, Deviate Production, or another powerhouse studio, one thing is clear. Soul Eater deserves, needs, has to have the Brotherhood treatment. But what do you think? Does Soul Eater deserve a remake, or is there another anime that needs the Brotherhood treatment even more? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed, can you guys like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Thank you for watching as always, and play my outro.